Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Coping with COVID. I'm Laura Byard, Regional Director for the Center for Mental Health.
Hi, I'm Nicholas Taylor, psychologist with the Center for Mental Health.
So today we want to talk about finding or improving motivation during this time when we are coping with some significant stressors.
And I think that's a great topic, Laura. It's amazing. I think how many of us are, it's how do we adapt to this new normal, and then how do we get ourselves motivated? How do we find that motivation that we've had before so that we can take care of things that we need to do and even explore kind of new options, new opportunities that might be coming our way. So I think it's a great topic.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, right off the bat, what comes to mind is that our schedules have been completely disrupted. And so motivation is often found from doing things that you enjoy, doing things that benefit you, and that motivates you to do it more. And right now, probably whatever you used to do is not something that you're doing right now. And so having to start over and create a new routine and new structure as part of finding motivation for the things that you want to add back into your life. Like, I
Right.
think that seems to me like the place to start. What do you think, Nick?
I couldn't agree more. And I love how you talked about motivation for new things. And I believe that a lot of us are kind of finding that there's some things that we now are more interested in that maybe we weren't before. Or maybe we're noticing that with a little bit extra time, now we're gardening, or now we're able to do some yard work, or that finally get to that one project that we haven't been able to get to before. And so I don't know that it's always about, hey, where did my motivation go? I think it's that we're finding that our motivation is kind of shifting a little bit. Now, we still want to make sure we've got strong motivation to take care of the things that we need to do, and how to dig deep and discover that. But I'm always wonderfully surprised at how motivated someone is, even if it's just something new or something that kind of caught their fancy for the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think I would start by figuring out, given that my life has been completely disrupted, my routine is completely changed. Maybe I'm juggling kids or family or work commitments that are really different than they were a few months ago. What are the things that, as I move back into some sort of new normal for me, what are the things that I want to add in? What are the things that I'm trying to find motivation to accomplish, to do? Like that seems to me like a good starting point. What are the
Right.
work related, or what are the personal goals, or what are the family goals that I'm concerned I'm not accomplishing that I want to find motivation for?
Right, right. And Laura, in the midst of all that, how important is structure to you? Like how much does structure matter to you?
Yeah, for me it matters tremendously. Like had a pretty good exercise routine before all of this, and not so much right now. And a lot of that is because my structure got completely flipped. And so structure was how I was exercising, and that was motivating me to do it again the next day, keeping that habit, keeping that routine going, feeling good. And once that was disrupted abruptly, now I need to, for me, that's my thing that's on my plate for the next couple of weeks
Mhm.
is how do I find the motivation to re-implement exercise into my life? And a lot of that has to do with structure.
Yeah,
When
yeah.
am I going to do it? How do I carve out the time? What do I not do maybe in order to make that time? And so I would say even though my life is very different, it's still very busy, just in a different way.
Yeah, that's a good way to say it. Yeah, I like that.
How about you? You need
Well,
that structure as well?
yeah. I had something very interesting happen the other day, and I don't know if others can relate, but I'll go ahead and share it. So, I am a psychologist. So one of my favorite movies from many, many, many years ago had Bill Murray and Richard Dreyfuss in it. It was called What About Bob? Maybe you've seen it. But
Yeah.
anyway, there's that great scene where, Bob gets up. He says, well, time to go to work. And he leans over from his bed and he punches in his time clock and he leans over to a computer. And at the time, I remember watching that, everyone just thought that was so funny that, here he was working from home. And I realized I'm kind of like Bob right now. Well, time to go to work. Let's go down to my basement office. And then when I take a break, I come back upstairs. And I'm finding that with that flexibility, I do need to make sure that there's structure there, because it's so easy for me to be able to say, okay, I'm going to take a quick break and go move a sprinkler, or I'm going to go, check on this. And the next thing I know, it's 20 minutes down the line. I'm like, oh, I got to get back to what I was doing before. And so I think having that structure is like, you know what, I'm here and I'm just going to pretend like I've driven 15 minutes to be here, like I normally would. And I'm going to spend that time, really working on this task to get it done. And I think it's kind of a mental gymnastic effort that I have to do with myself to get me there. But yeah, I think that structure, it's really kind of a mental thing. It's something that we decide and we determine for ourselves, and I think it's very linked to finding motivation, as we're talking about.
Yeah, and that reminds me, Nick, as you're saying that, I know we spoke earlier today, and I think in earlier discussions, we've talked about extending grace and making sure we have really good expectations. But I think the reframe of, you're not really working at home. You're at home during a pandemic, during a crisis, trying to work.
Mm-hmm.
And so really kind of reframing what is really happening. So if you're having a hard time finding motivation, maybe giving yourself some grace to begin with, of like that. This isn't just working from home. This isn't that we all decided that we were going to work from home because we wanted to. We're working at home because of safety of our community, or we're trying to work at home, but we're really at home because of a crisis.
Yeah, no,
I like trying to do a lot of things.
What a wonderful reframe. I like that. We do have some questions that have come in, and these we received via email, and maybe we could look at a couple of those.
That sounds great.
Yeah, let's see, maybe starting with this one. I'm finding myself so overwhelmed with everything that is going on with COVID-19 that I just can't seem to get motivated to do even my normal routines. Am I alone in this? What can I do? I think the answer to that first question is we just established, no, you're not alone in this.
Right.
At least you got one other person, me, just trying to find those normal routines. How do we invite ourselves back into some kind of normalcy, do you think, Laura, as far as our routines go?
Sure. Well, I think for me, starting with the basics, given that our structure and our routine has all been thrown off, kind of doing a personal inventory of, am I sleeping well? Am I eating well? Have I consumed more coffee or alcohol than normal? Am I really doing the things that make me healthy? Am I getting outside and walking? Am I doing things that make me feel good? Because if I'm not eating well, if I'm not sleeping well, then I'm not going to feel good. Mm-hmm. And then on top of that, setting an expectation that I need to find motivation. That's like pushing, some big boulders uphill.
Right.
So I think starting with the basics, you got to make sure that you're taking care of yourself, and that way you feel good, and that makes it so much easier than to do the next thing.
Yeah, I like that. I think it is worth mentioning just very quickly that motivation can be linked to some other things. Several weeks ago, we talked about depression, and actually you can go back on our Facebook and see the video that we did on depression. I think it's important to mention that if somebody is finding that lack of motivation is really getting cumbersome and heavy, that it might be time to get some help. And I think it bears mentioning that there is help available, as we always like to, of course, point out that through the Center for Mental Health, we offer a support line. That number, of course, is available here on our website, on our website and on our Facebook, but it's 970-252-6220. That's our support line. And then to access services that might be needed if someone is kind of finding themselves really, kind of challenged in finding motivation. And to set up those services, we do them via televideo, so it doesn't require that somebody have to leave their home, and we try and make it as convenient as possible. But simply calling the 970-252-3220 would be 3200, excuse me, get the number right, would be the number to call to set up those services. But
Yeah, absolutely. If you're finding that you try to implement the strategies we talk about today and it's just not working, give us a call, and our clinicians can help figure out what's getting in the way.
Yeah, excellent. So how about another question?
Sure.
This one kind of caught my attention. This person says, I've actually found the ability to work from home helpful with my work-life balance. It gives me more time to take care of things at home, to spend time with my family, and I feel more productive with my work tasks. How am I supposed to get motivated with going back to how things were when I prefer them how they are now?
That's great. I'm
I
really
love
glad.
that one.
Yeah. And a lot of people are. I know for the center, we will probably continue to do some blend for the future. And so I would say, you know, to that individual, maybe a conversation with your employer about what does the future look like, or the near future. A lot of companies are finding that employees did actually do really well, and that it reduces their overhead to have people at home.
Right.
And so it's a win for both.
Right, it really is. And I think it's wonderful that that person found something positive and found a strength. And I would just say, way to go. You know, congratulations, because right now we're all about discovering those things that work. And I love how, Laura, you mentioned, how do we then take those things that are working for us and then carry them into our future? Because we're going to be different on the other side of this. Things are going to be a little different. Well, there's nothing that says that they can't be better. And I certainly think that that's possible. So, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And if your employer is, it's a job where you need to come back to being in person, then I would say kind of really doing an inventory of what worked well. Like what were the things that, was it like less distractions at home for you? Like a lot of people have more distractions, but maybe you have less. Was it the ability to be outside more? Was it the ability to get some things done in the interim? And how do you bring those things then into your workplace and into your structure that you've learned that you do well with?
Like that. Here's a question that is related, but kind of on the other side of that. And I'm glad that this one came in. This question is, I lost my job, and now applying for a new job is hard to do because so many employers aren't hiring, or they don't want to meet with me face to face. I'm collecting unemployment, but I know this isn't a long-term fix. How do I stay motivated?
Yeah, that can certainly be discouraging.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Yeah, that could be discouraging. And we are, you know, trying to explore what employment situations are going to look like. And I guess I would try and flip that and just be as encouraging as I could for that person, so that they would know that, you know, we'll find ourselves back to some kind of an equilibrium at some point, and we don't always know what that's going to look like. So I would really encourage there be an exploration of strengths, of interests, of skills, and education. It might be a good time to ask some of those questions, like, is this really the job that I want to keep doing? Does this fit me? What are some other strengths or interests that I have that might now be more available with the way things are changing? So it really can be an opportunity for exploration, as difficult and as concerning as it might be to kind of be in that state of limbo.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I certainly have been there and wouldn't wish job loss on anyone. But in every one of those situations that I faced in my life, I know that it reminds me of a quote that's been attributed to many people. I don't know where it actually comes from, but it's, don't look too hard at the door that's closed, or you might miss the one that's opened. And so for me, that's brought me a lot of inspiration to do just what you're doing, Nick, is to take inventory and decide, I probably wouldn't have changed my career path, or I wouldn't have made a different move had I not been in a situation with job loss. But since I am in this situation, what do I want to do? And what do I want to do differently? What is it, an opportunity? You know, is it a time to go back to school? Is it a time to get a new skill set? Is it a time to get a certificate of some sort? You know, what is it? What is this situation open? What doors are opening for me right now because I'm in this situation? And it can, like, I don't want to minimize, it can feel really, really bad and definitely brings stressors. Job loss brings tremendous stressors, but it also brings a time to decide what is it that you want to do moving forward. Like we'll spend a lot of time as people trying not to hit rock bottom, but sometimes when we do, then finally you can kind of take a breath. The worst is over. You're sitting in it, and you can stand up and figure out where you want to go. And so, so that would be my encouragement to that individual, for sure.
I think that's wonderful. I think, you know, finding motivation has everything to do with a dream. And, you know, just because we're in kind of a bit of a limbo situation, as I described it earlier, many of us kind of not knowing for certain everything about what's going to happen in the future, that doesn't mean that we stop dreaming. And I love the idea that, as you were saying, Laura, that dream can even adjust a little bit and take into account some new things about us. But we don't stop dreaming. And so I think there is a chance for us to kind of take that step back, ask those questions about what matters most to us and where we want to be. Maybe we're asking ourselves, okay, so I'm going to give myself an endpoint. Maybe it's Christmas, the end of the year, or another time. And I'm thinking about where I want to be at that moment, what I'd like to notice is different about myself or better. And then it gives me something that will kind of pull me in that direction. So, you know, I think the concept of having a dream and going for it doesn't ever go away, and it's certainly one that we can foster and help grow, even in a challenging situation like the one we're in now.
Yeah, for sure. I think once you do latch on to that next thing, that dream, that, you know, that new goal, then it's easier to find motivation. It is much harder when you're in that new place of job loss, because maybe the place you work for closed or reduced employment. That's a hard place to sit, for sure.
Yeah.
And so once you are able to figure out what the next thing is, then it's much easier.
Yeah, I have to tell you, I had the opportunity to work a period of time at a college and university counseling center. So of course, working with college students, they're all about trying to figure out their career and where they want to go next. But some of those career counseling sessions were extremely rewarding for me, just because there was so much excitement and enthusiasm about exploring future possibilities and opening up new doors. And you know, I mean, I would imagine that at the Center for Mental Health, we might even be doing some career counseling sessions, whereas, you know, we haven't done a lot of those in the past, but I don't think that's a bad thing either. If somebody is looking for a little bit of guidance, or they're wanting to explore some things about themselves to see kind of what direction they might want to go, there are those services that could be helpful as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that speaks to a question that came in of, how do I stay motivated when I have nothing to look forward to? All vacations are canceled. I know Memorial Day is coming up, and a lot of us were joking that, like, oh, wait, it's a holiday? No one has plans. So it's a little hard to remember that it was actually a holiday coming up. Favorite projects are on hold. It's hard to, you know, how to stay motivated when everything that we enjoy seems to be absent. So, and that's definitely a challenge, for sure. Lots of discussions in the different mental health meetings and communities about how to support people through that. You know, one of my favorite metaphors that I heard this week was from one of our community partners, who talked about really starting small, you know, just like you do with babies, introducing one baby food flavor at a time. And so maybe this week it's the sweet potato week, and you have sweet potatoes, and you do that all week, and you see how it goes. And then next week is green beans, and you do green beans, and you see how that goes. That way that you can quickly respond to any problems. And so I think taking that approach for all of us who've, you know, had babies and gone through that, just, you know, add one thing at a time. Start small, increase your social circle with one trusted family or one trusted friend, one new activity, one new community kind of outing you haven't done. Be safe, stay safe, but keep it small, and just add one thing at a time.
I really like that. Thank you, Laura. Yeah, it just kind of gave me shivers thinking about how it really is that way. It's kind of an experiment, just looking for things that work and starting small. So thank you, and want to just express gratitude to everyone who joined us and has watched our video today. And we look forward to meeting with you again next week. So have a great week. Thank you.
Yep. Thanks, guys.